Let's take a moment to look back at the transformation of someone who's not only changed his own life, but has helped countless others do the same. Bob Proctor. He's a man who started with almost nothing, drowning in debt at the age of 26, and yet today is one of the most influential figures in the world of prosperity and the law of attraction. Can you imagine that? At 26, Bob was living a life of financial struggle, where every dollar he earned just went toward paying off his mounting debts. Fast forward, and now he's a completely different person, a living example of what it means to change your paradigm, your mindset, and your life. So what exactly happened? How did Bob go from being what he calls a lost soul to becoming the powerhouse we know today? The answer lies in his understanding of the mind and the power of thought. Bob acknowledges that our minds are shaped by two major influences: our genetics and the environment we're born into. For him, that meant growing up during the Great Depression and World War II, where poverty was a constant presence, and survival was the primary focus. The world around him was in scarcity, and that scarcity was the message that played in his mind. Until one day, he found a book that changed everything. That book, and the teachings he found in it, introduced him to a new way of thinking. At first, Bob couldn't believe the concepts. Things like attracting money just by asking for it seemed too outlandish. But the more he read, the more he couldn't put the book down. He kept learning, kept listening, kept opening his mind to new possibilities. He began to understand that the way he had been living, constantly focusing on what he didn't want, was keeping him stuck in a cycle of lack. Over time, Bob immersed himself in the teachings of people like Earl Nightingale, whose voice he often likened to the voice of God, with a sense of clarity and truth that resonated deeply with him. And through this constant exposure to new ideas and concepts, something clicked. He began to rewrite his mental programming, his paradigm, as he calls it. His subconscious programming, what he was taught growing up, had been limiting him. But by changing that program, Bob was able to shift from struggle to success, to the point where he now attracts millions in abundance. One of the major misunderstandings that most people have when it comes to the law of attraction is that they don't understand the true nature of energy and vibration. Everything in the universe, including our thoughts, operates on frequencies. And these frequencies attract like frequencies. This means that the thoughts you think are sending out vibrations, which then dictate what you attract into your life. Unfortunately, most people focus on what they don't want and wonder why it keeps showing up. To really tap into the law of attraction, Bob says we must first understand that attraction is a secondary law to vibration. In other words, you can only attract what you're in harmony with. If you want financial abundance, you need to vibrate at the frequency of abundance. And how do you do that? By seeing yourself already in possession of what you desire, by imagining your life as if it's already happening. This is exactly what Bob did. It wasn't about how smart he was or how many degrees he had. It was about rewiring his mindset, changing his emotional state, and elevating his awareness. This is what allowed him to move from a life of struggle to a life of prosperity. Most people get caught up in thinking that more education or intellectual knowledge will bring success. But Bob learned that it's emotional development and mental awareness that lead to real transformation. So, the key takeaway from Bob's story is this: change your thoughts, change your vibration, and rewrite the subconscious programming that is running your life. Don't just go through the motions. Dig deep into understanding how energy, vibration, and the law of attraction work. This is what truly creates massive shifts in your reality. And it's not about being more intellectual. It's about becoming emotionally and mentally aligned with your desires. The more you understand this, the more you can manifest the life you dream of, just like Bob did. In the world of the law of attraction, many people often get caught up in the chase for the latest technique or the newest breakthrough. They constantly seek new methods, yet when they don't get the results they want, they feel frustrated and say, "Tell me something new." But here's the thing. Most of what they're missing is a deeper understanding of how this process really works. It's not about constantly looking for fresh advice or secret techniques. The real power lies not in the conscious mind, but in the subconscious mind, the true driver behind everything we create in our lives. I realized something crucial one day that I believe can help a lot of people. Let me explain it like this. The core truth of the law of attraction is found in repetition. Here's what happens to many people. They start studying a certain method, dive deep into it, and eventually feel like they've learned everything there is to know. They might move on to another guru, another philosophy, thinking they'll find something more advanced. But they keep jumping from one teaching to the next, never truly mastering any one of them. The magic happens when you stay committed to a single teaching, repeat it, and let it fully sink into your subconscious. Trust me, the real breakthrough comes not from hopping around, but from consistency and repetition. So here's a simple piece of advice. If you're learning from someone who truly resonates with you, stick with them. Whether it's a mentor, a book, or a program, the key isn't to find the next big thing. It's to stay with what works, even if it feels repetitive. It's in the constant reinforcement of the message that transformation happens. This is the secret I've found and the secret others have shared with me. Let's talk about faith for a second. Faith is the ability to see the invisible. It's about visualizing something in your mind, something that hasn't materialized yet, and truly believing in its possibility. This is what's incredible. There's a power within you, your spirit, that is capable of manifesting anything, but only when you emotionally connect with that vision. When you can see it clearly in your mind and believe it with every ounce of your being, it will begin to materialize into the physical world. Faith isn't just wishful thinking. It's a deep, emotional belief that the invisible will become visible. And this goes even deeper. There's a law of the universe, the perpetual transmutation of energy, which states that everything is simply a manifestation of non-physical energy. Think about it. This bottle of water, the chair you're sitting on, the air around you. It all started as non-physical energy and moved into physical form. When you align your thoughts and emotions with that energy, your desires have no choice but to move into form. This is not just an abstract concept. It's a universal law, and it works for everything. Here's something that might blow your mind. Spirit waits for direction from the soul. We are souls, not just bodies having a spiritual experience. Most people think they have a soul, but the truth is, you are a soul. You're not having a spiritual experience. You are the very embodiment of spirit. And spirit? It's waiting for you to give it direction. When you ask for something and truly believe in it, spirit will bring it to you. But you've got to ask with absolute clarity and confidence. If you don't believe, it won't happen. This brings me to a fundamental truth about life. Nothing is ever created or destroyed. Energy doesn't vanish. It simply transforms. Think of the seasons. A tree grows, its leaves change color, and they eventually fall to the ground, becoming part of the earth again. That earth will, in turn, nourish new trees. This cycle of transformation, returning to source and then back into creation, is the same with you. You are energy in motion. When you leave your body, your soul continues its journey, just like leaves falling back to the earth, eventually contributing to the growth of something new. Death is merely a transition, and life is an eternal cycle of expansion and expression. When you understand that life is this continuous cycle, it becomes clear everything you desire already exists as a potential in the invisible energy field. The process of creation follows the same law. It's simply energy transforming into physical form. And when you realize this, you'll start to see that what you want already exists, waiting for you to bring it into the physical world. The key? Faith and belief. When you believe in what you want, when you truly know it's already yours, it will manifest. It's not about intellectual understanding or debating whether it's possible. It's about trusting the process and knowing that once you put the intention out there, it must come to you. As Andrew Carnegie, the great industrialist, once told Napoleon Hill, any idea that is held in the mind, any idea that is emphasized, either feared or revered, will begin to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. This is the power of the subconscious mind. Your belief system is what shapes your reality. So here's the question. Are you ready to believe that you can have whatever you want simply by asking and truly knowing that it will come? That's the real secret. In times of adversity, it is not just our religious rites, but the deep-rooted customs of devotion that provide us with the strength to carry on. These spiritual practices are the guiding light when the road ahead seems unclear. The experiences of Manola Strix further emphasize the necessity of these sacred activities. Through her encounters with revered religious figures and supernatural visions, we are reminded of the power that devotion and spiritual vigilance can have in shaping our lives. These encounters highlight the importance of prayer, penance, and a committed relationship with God, which offer us protection and divine guidance in times of uncertainty. As we embark on this spiritual journey, it becomes crucial to share this message of hope with others. By spreading the word, we contribute to the divine purpose of illuminating the world with hope, even in the darkest times. Sharing the message is not just an act of responsibility, but a privilege that strengthens the spiritual foundation of humanity. It is through our collective efforts that we can help others find the light of God's grace, just as the Virgin Mary has called us to do. Her message continues to reverberate in our hearts like a beacon of light cutting through the fog of doubt. The Virgin Mary teaches us that no matter how dark the times may seem, there's a light stronger than all the forces of evil, and that light will guide us through. This call to unwavering faith is an invitation to strengthen our spiritual fortitude, as we must ground ourselves in the power of prayer and faith to navigate the uncertainties ahead. Our inner light, nourished by devotion, will serve as our compass, leading us through the storms and showing us the way to salvation. The lessons from Medjugorje, delivered through the Virgin Mary's words, are timely and crucial. They urge us to remain vigilant, to fortify our faith, and to prepare for the challenges that lie ahead. It is through the essentials of prayer, devotion, and spiritual discipline that we can face these challenges with courage and hope. By grounding ourselves in the practices that keep us connected to God, we will emerge stronger and more resolute in the face of adversity. There's a clear call to action here. To spread this message, to strengthen our spiritual community, and to place our trust in the divine plan, which assures us of the victory of good over evil. Together, with faith in our hearts and unity in our actions, we can overcome any challenge and usher in a future filled with hope, light, and divine grace. Let us continue to move forward, hand in hand, fortified by prayer and devotion, knowing that the light of Christ will guide us through even the darkest of times. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this message. What are your thoughts on today's topic? Remember to subscribe and click the bell icon to stay updated with our latest videos. We would love to hear your comments below.